We're ready.
We're good? All right, let me call this meeting to order for the Rankin Planning and Zoning Board. If I could start off by asking for a roll call.
Okay. It's Jim Head,
I am here.
Tom Wilson,
Here.
Mona Underwood,
Here.
Kelly Byrne,
Here.
Eric Hills,
Here.
Roy Griffin not here, Terry Lewis,
Here.
Molly Watley,
Here.
Betty Vidal,
And
here.
Betty, I was gonna say, don't
I'll
forget.
make myself
Sue.
last. Okay,
All right.
Sherry not here. Sherry's not
She was just helping out with us.
Okay.
With the new system.
here. All right.
If I could ask everybody to stand for the invocation and pledge. Did anybody want to do the invocation today?
Okay.
All right.
Dear God, we just thank you so much, dear Lord, for our community and our country, dear Lord. We just ask you would be with all of us tonight as we bring the city's business to this board. Dear Lord, just let our minds and our hearts reflect on things that are positive and good. Let us represent our citizens well. And dear Lord, get us all home safely in this rain. Be with us, guide, guard, and direct us in all we say and do. May it bless you. For your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so first order of business is always approval of the agenda. Not a whole lot, we got a couple items today. Any changes from the city or anything we need to do? All right. We'll have to amend our,
Men, that Mr. Roy is here.
yes, amend our,
Okay.
there you go, save your seat. All right, well, if there is no other, comments or questions about the agenda, I'll call for a motion.
I move we accept the agenda as written.
Motion on table for acceptance,
Second.
and second, and all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. All right, next order of business is approval of the minutes from the July 18th. Make sure I got that right. Yes, July 18th. Looks like everybody has their package, so you probably had a chance to go over that. Again, if there are any questions or comments, now would be the time. If not, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion is for acceptance. Okay, that's all right.
Let's check of the date.
Okay,
Second.
and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, you ready to move forward?
Yes.
All right, the first item on the agenda for new business, it says an application has been filed by Maxwell Reddick and Associates requesting site plan approval to construct a Cerchiro's Fresh Mex restaurant. Our property is located at 612-612 Town Park Loop. Parcel is owned by SAP Rankin LLC and is zoned general commercial. Parcel number is R2640012. Anybody here representing them?
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind, give us your name and just give us an idea of what you're looking to do today.
Gotcha. My name's Guy Higdon with Maxwell Reddick and Associates, and I'm an engineer for Maxwell Reddick. And here on behalf,
I'm sorry, I missed that first name.
Guy Higdon, Guyhigdon.
Got it. Thanks.
And representing the owner, Brian Smith, we're looking to place in this this empty commercial development, a new Fresh Mex restaurant. I believe it'll be it's not quite a drive-in, but a order and pickup. So they'll have a kind of a pickup window, but not a typical drive-through like you would see at many other fast food restaurants.
Okay.
Will there be inside seating as well?
There will be inside seating as well. Yes, sir.
Do you have an about approximately how many
Uh,
seats available inside?
As with for the seats inside, believe there to be about 48 spaces inside. You know, we have 48 parking and 2 handicap spots.
So as you mentioned, it's not a actual drive-through, it'll just be a drive-through pickup window.
Yes, sir. So there's not like a typical call box.
Right, but it'll, I mean, you've got a lane there.
Yes, sir.
For them to swing in and pick it up.
Mhm. There will also be additional outside seating as well.
Go outside seating?
Yes, sir.
This is a standard restaurant situation,
Mhm.
alcoholic beverages.
I don't believe there'll be any alcoholic beverages at the
It's
typical
not like a
situation.
Moe's or something.
It's like a Moe's would probably be a good way to describe it, burrito kind of place, burrito, Taco Bowl sort of restaurant. It'll be connecting to existing water, sewer, electricity. There'll be a grease trap that'll attach into
Yes, I love it.
that before, coming from the restaurant before it goes into city sewer.
Something like this, they're not required to do a development agreement on something like this, correct?
They're not, that's correct.
We did get erosion soil control approval on this, and we've already been through Liberto Cacon with the private review from EOM, so they've also taken a look at that. Terry's been extremely helpful in working with us on making sure everything matches up.
Well, it looks like you got, as far as I can tell, looks like you've got everything there. And I read this as site approval, so I'm assuming you're doing preliminary and final on this?
Right, just one, like this
Because
is,
we're,
yes, because they were able to submit everything that we required.
right, that's what it looked like. I mean, I didn't see anything here from engineering or anything that was outstanding. Well, let me ask you, Terry, is there anything that is outstanding that we don't see here? Is there anything that we need to?
There
that the
isn't,
city
they
might
were,
be concerned about?
there isn't, they were very amenable to making any changes that myself and EOM requested, and they were pretty minor changes. So they did all that. I went through my checklist, they've met everything. They've got, you know, a good amount of landscaping, more than is even, I've got it up here, in case you want to see it a little bit larger, even though I know you're further away. But they've got even more than we require, which is nice.
My fellow council person here, Tom, was mentioning that this is a chain restaurant?
Yes,
Other
sir.
restaurants throughout the country? And anyone, where's the closest one that we may,
I know that that we have one in Statesboro, that's where we're from.
Statesboro?
Yes, sir.
There were 3 other locations in Georgia.
Mhm.
As far as those, are you familiar with those other locations? Or
No, sir, I'm not.
not so much, okay. Was there any issues that you came across as far as this particular site that would cause major changes, or that you would, you know, anything that you feel like would cause you to develop it differently than you would have wanted to if you had more land? Or is there anything about the site that gives you any particular challenges that we maybe want to think about? And it seems pretty straightforward, but,
Fortunately for this side, it was pretty straightforward. One of the nice things about working in this commercial development is we were tying into an existing stormwater, a watershed. So basically, we were able to take our stormwater and put it to the common development, which really made this, if we didn't have that, then yes, land would have been a lot bigger factor, and we would have needed more for pond, and we would have had to reduce some parking size, the whole thing. So as far as the changes on this one, the only thing is, it's gonna be a little bit complicated connecting into the existing sewer on that kind of top left corner, just because where the stub out comes in and the electric box is at. That would be the only thing if we,
so it just might have.
just a little
some
bit of
adjustment.
finagling, some
But all
adjustment
that
there,
infrastructure's already there, it's just a matter of,
just working around it. So,
details.
mhm.
Yeah.
But as far as the site goes, I think we worked it out on this one.
Like I said, it is a pretty straightforward, it's a nice square, pretty much a square. Not a weird site to work off of or anything, so that kind of made it.
Mhm. And fortunately, with the way we graded it out, we have balanced it out, so we're not gonna have a whole bunch of dirt trucks running on and off of it, bringing a bunch of soil, so we should be able to cut and fill on the side without bringing in a bunch of outside dirt, or taking it off somewhere.
Well, that's good. I mean, obviously, you've got your soil erosion control
Mhm.
stuff that you'll have to adhere to, normal stuff.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy, just for the record, so I'm clear, I'm trying to think in my head, because the questions I'm asked all the time about the city. I know that some of our light industrial places are now paying property taxes. Do any of these restaurants, or they pay no property taxes?
They don't know. The other ones, they pay it because they're part of I believe it's a community improvement district. I might have that kind of wrong, but those have been part of the development agreements that have been entered into with the warehouses, but those are the only ones that I'm aware of right now that would be part of that CID. I can ask Jonathan for a little bit more information about, what the long-term plans are for it, and get back with y'all.
So other than sales tax, which is shared revenue with the county, that would be it, right?
Anybody else have any other questions before I open it up to the public?
Where's the front?
Sir, the front of this building is gonna be right here.
Phase 21 or the Loop?
Sir,
Is it gonna face 21 or the Loop?
it'll face 21.
Okay,
The
21.
21 right now.
I'll ask if anybody in the public would like to make a comment about this particular issue. Now would be the time. Okay. And what's the city's position on this one?
The city recommends approval. They've met all the requirements of the ordinance.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, concerns on the board? Anybody good? Left? No left, right? Well, if, I don't wanna rush, but it sounds like this is all pretty well buttoned up, so I'll ask for a motion then, unless there's any other comments.
Yeah, I move that we accept the application as presented.
All right,
Second.
and seconded, motion is on the table, for approval, and it's seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right then, city council you'll still have to go through city council, which is,
Their September 11th meeting.
September 11th.
all right,
If y'all have any questions or anything else, feel free to call Maxwell Reddick, or I'm sure Terry can give you my email, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have on the site.
usually this group just wants to know what the menu looks like.
I hear that.
But that's probably premature, so.
And what was the name? The name of it gonna be what? The Churros?
All righty then, next item on the agenda is a request has been filed by Kern and Company LLC for approval of a major subdivision to subdivide 477.58 acres into 3 parcels based on ownership. The parcel is located off of South Highway 21 and is zoned limited industrial. The parcel is owned by CTC Phase 1 Ownership LP. Parcel number is R28300001. And you look familiar?
Yes.
If you don't mind again, for the record, give us your
No
your
problem.
name.
Good evening, Chad Zitrow with Kern and Company. Here tonight representing Trumbull Crow, CTC Phase 1 and CTC Phase 2. Also with me tonight is Drew Frederick from Trumbull Crow. So last month before you were 3 warehouse buildings. All of those are located on Phase 1A shown on this plat. And as part of our financing exercise and everything, basically those 3 buildings are on this one parcel. You see an access and utility easement on the north edge of that parcel. That's where the future roadway will go. Once the roadway is complete and the buildings are complete, we'll more than likely come back with you to further subdivide this parcel for each of the 3 buildings and then publicly dedicate a road per the development agreement, but obviously we're not ready to do that yet. So basically, CTC Phase 1 ownership will own Phase 1A parcel, which is the 3 buildings that were approved by you guys last month and council last night. And then a separate entity from Trumbull Crow will own the remaining parcels. It's all under one ownership, just for financing exercise, we'll break it out.
So just to be clear, you're just basically breaking it out to make it easier to
Secure financing.
develop it and sell it in parts.
Well, just to obtain a construction loan for financing purposes.
It's actually more for, we will, once we have the buildings once we construct the buildings and build the road, we'll further subdivide. This exercise is purely for, so we don't have to cross-collateralize the land as part of our financing agreement with our bank. So it's something that the bank is requiring us to do. We didn't really want to do this at this point, but we can and we will. And so it's one of those things where it's really just a matter of, if you look at this, so this is the ownership for Phase 1, and then these 2 are the ownership for Phase 2. Normally what we would have done is parcel out everything right off the bat, but the problem is the way the ordinance works is that we'd have to put up an $18 million bond for the road, and so it doesn't really make sense for us to put up a bond to build our own road to our own property that we're gonna turn over. It's about $225,000 worth of bond costs. So this is just one step in the process. So this is really just for collateralizing our loan and just separating the ownership part of it. And like I said, once we install the buildings and build the road, we'll then dedicate it and further subdivide to individual parcels for each building.
When you say separate ownership, they're both a member of Trumbull Crow or of a corporation that's
Yes.
managed by Trumbull Crow.
Yes.
And this particular development, as you just mentioned earlier, this is under, or these parcels are under the development agreement that we normally carry with the city.
Correct.
That's correct. And they are within the CID district. That does generate some revenue.
I noticed you were listening to that when you asked that, Mona.
Chad, listen, Chad's on his toes because life isn't so bad tonight. That revenue's important at this
I
point.
understand, it is everywhere.
It is. And it's even more important for a city like us since we don't have, the same kind of revenue that, other cities are, able to cure, and we want to try to keep it that way. So
100%.
this helps us to do that, which is important.
So,
Other
I have a
questions?
question about that small Phase 1, I can't see. Y'all are giving us such good plans now. 1C, is that gonna be a warehouse there?
That's where Building 6 is on the master
It's gonna be
plan.
small.
Right,
It's a
it's
smaller
a smaller warehouse.
That would be a 300,000 foot building.
Yes.
And I know the property lines past that creek. That-
North of Polly Creek, correct?
Right, the Polly Creek is protected.
Yes, 100%.
I have my other issue besides money is creeks. That's not gonna look like an overgrown ditch in a few years, is it?
I mean,
Yeah, you won't, honestly, you won't be able to see it because of the wetlands protection on either side of the creek.
That's fine too.
So we
I know
don't,
the woods.
it'll remain with like a 40, 50-foot natural buffer to the flow line of that creek through there on both sides, north and south, so.
That's what it looked like with the lines, but I just wanted to make sure we
Yes.
checked that creek.
Anybody from the public would like to make any comments on this issue? All right, in the city's position?
Recommend approval. It's obviously atypical from a typical residential subdivision that you'd see, but not atypical for a project like this. And like they said, expect to see sometime down the road, another plan to further subdivide.
Any other questions from the board on this? Comments? No? All right, then I guess I'll ask for a motion.
I moved to accept.
Motion on the table for accept
A second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening.
City council meeting coming up
This is
on
a record.
September the 11th.
25 minutes.
We're not done yet. I have
Well,
not
for
closed
that-
out.
Now I'm gonna talk to y'all till
And the lights are
10:45 so we
still on.
can beat council's record, so.
What else have you got for us today?
Just a couple things. So I was gonna do some training, just because we did have a shorter agenda, but after, last night's meeting being so long, I'm not gonna do that tonight, so. But, a couple things. One, I know I had reached out to y'all a little less than a month ago about potential meeting dates for a joint meeting with council. At that point, we were looking at specific dates. I've been asked instead to just make sure, to find out, are there any days of the week that do not work? So I know Wednesdays, I heard from Mona, don't work. So there are any specific days of the week in general that will not work? Let me know, and I'm gonna pass that back on, and hopefully we can get that scheduled pretty quickly.
And I tried to pull that up, and for some reason mine was not able to do what I needed to do. I was able to look at part of it on my phone, but I meant to come home and look at it on the computer, and I forgot to try to get it to come up. What was the time frame they were looking at?
It'll be in.
Time of the day.
Time of the evening. It'll
It
be
is.
evening. But lots of times when they do workshops, they're either at 6 or 6:30, a little bit earlier than council starts.
And again, since I didn't respond, I'll just say I can make just about any day work as long as it's around that time frame.
All right, does anybody else have any days of the week that typically are bad? Just avoid Wednesdays.
Fridays.
I don't think anybody would want a meeting on a Friday, so.
Smart.
Depends on the menu.
And then just in terms of training, if we don't have a big agenda next month, then we probably will start. I'd like to start doing some regular training at each of the meetings, talking about making motions, some of the discussion, starting to talk about things like that. And then I'd also like y'all to start thinking about things that you may want training on, whether it's training that we do here, or if you, Molly was able to find some training that we can, pay for y'all to go to somewhere in the state. So just let me know your preference. I know traveling doesn't work for everybody. It may not appeal to some, but I know we get tired of doing online trainings as well. So just start to think about what might benefit you, what you might want to, learn a little bit more about site planning or annexations, or just, whatever you want to do. And then we can talk about that next month, what you want to have more training on, and, what your preferences are too for obtaining that training.
I think, when you mentioned that, I think the most useful thing would be things that we see the most of, which is similar to what we saw today as far as like a site like this restaurant being developed. to just, basic, because a lot of folks are new, fairly new to the board. Actually, we've all been here for a little while. Well, you're about the newest, but, that I think would be, because that's the thing that we see the most common, is that. And then, again, a little bit more, this is a perfect example this week, something like this, a larger development, and what things we should be looking for, so that we can give the right recommendations to the city.
Terry, we went to training last year in, where did we go, Atlanta? And that was a really good training session that a lot of town boards there.
Okay.
And, so we went and you went and that was really good.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice when you can find some of those, and they've got some too that are geared towards boards like yours,
Right.
so that it is really pertinent. You're not hearing half the stuff that doesn't, you're never going to deal with.
Right.
Well, one
Don't
of
deal
the
with-
really good things about this one was there were P&Zs from several different
Mhm.
cities that were much larger, some that were the same size as us, and so we got to kind of break into groups and work with things with people that, have the similar questions and similar
Mhm.
things that come up in front of them like we do. So that was really good.
Oh yeah, it's always nice when you can talk to other communities, whether bigger, smaller, or the same size, and just kind of find out how do they do things, or what kind of issues do they have coming before them, so.
And we got to go with a lot of people from Fort Wentworth that probably aren't there anymore.
Well, Jason is there still.
Well, Jason, he was here then.
I know.
But yeah, we'll probably talk about variances a little bit. And then the other thing I should just, not necessarily part of training, but there'll probably be a couple more sections, just like we did with fences, where we bring something forward to you for review for some code changes before we get to our overall, kind of update of the entire code. So that's coming soon, I hope. And when I say soon, I mean
What do
a
you
few
mean by the
months.
entire code?
Well, the planning and zoning portion, the growth management portion. So not all the stuff that deals with like the administration and, like at the beginning.
Like the building codes and
but-
ordinances?
Well, so building code's different because there's very little in our code about the building portion of it, because we adopt the IBC and the IRC, the International Building Code, and the International Residential Code, and that's what David has to go with. But no, it would be the bulk of Chapter 90 with probably a few other. We think we need to update probably our occupational tax, our business license section. So there are a few other sections that we will need to update, but the big part of it will be the planning portion.
Taxes is important because we love to provide a lot of services, but we don't have the income. It's the most bizarre thing I've seen lately,
But we don't want to piecemeal it all, but there are a couple areas similar to fences where it's, a little bit more time sensitive, and we want to get some changes.
Well, I think one of the
going.
things that shocked me most about the city of Brenton, and it's quite obvious when you look at the nicest building structure right now in part of Brenton, that's gonna be Parker's. I mean, that they're making their facade look nice, and
Mhm.
we really don't, it's a gamble because they can do whatever they want to do. And it's like,
Yeah, we had talked about it a while ago that we don't have an architectural review board for the city. But that's, as you probably know, that's a little bit more complicated and a little bit bigger animal than you may realize, because once you start doing that, you've got to have, you have to, and this is just from what I found from the past when we talked about that we don't have that. You really have to come up with, I don't wanna say a theme, but kinda like, if you think about Hilton Head, you have to come up with, what you want the city to look like. So that and it's important to come with that, and then if somebody wants to come in and do something different, you've got something to say, well, that doesn't fit our plan. So it's kind of a really wide open thing that takes time to do, and when you start getting into an architectural review board, that it does take a lot more time and a lot more, which I'm not saying it's not a bad idea at all. I wish we had that, but right now we still don't. The fact that you have the, development agreement, we can push some of the aesthetics in that realm when it
But
comes
the
to there.
only thing
But
that
we
it
don't
does-
have anything, for example, on for like this restaurant.
The only thing that seems to get into development agreements are warehouses.
So far, that's been the case. It doesn't mean it has to be that way. But there are, kind of tying back to that just a little bit. So we do have the Fort Howard overlay district that sets out some specific requirements, not necessarily aesthetically in terms of, buildings should be a certain color or made of certain materials. But it does require buffers, certain types of trees, things like that. So we could, if we thought an architectural review board was maybe too much to start with, we could start with some other overlay districts, maybe along 21, and maybe not along all of 21, oops, maybe along a certain portion of it. That's something that could be considered.
Well, the best thing to do is take the steps in those directions, because I found in a year and a half that what I'm seeing a lot with council is if they ignore it long enough, it'll go away, and people quit asking them and they'll keep doing nothing, is what I'm seeing, because I think it's just so overwhelming to people, they don't know what to do with it. So, because I sent an email 3 months ago about a DBA, because Dayton has one, Springfield has one.
Mhm.
Even some kind of development authority to help bring in development in a positive way to our city and different areas of our city, and they don't even respond to your email. So, I don't know how you get the right things going. I just don't.
Other than the overlay type of control that you were just talking about, is there, I don't know, but is there some other things that we could insert into our code that would help give us, well, at least to prevent something like crazy happen, like somebody wants to put, hot pink or a hot orange thing right out there on Highway 21 that would be an eyesore. Right now, I don't think we have anything to prevent that. If somebody decided to paint their house or their building, 5 shades of neon purple or whatever, then, they could do that legally. So, I don't know, that's just a thought too, that maybe we could even have, like you said, a step in that direction where we can say, hey, maybe there's something that says, hey, it does have to be aesthetically, aesthetically not offensive, maybe, I don't know how
And you have to,
label
that's,
that.
and with ARBs too.
Yeah, how do you say what's offensive,
Right,
what's
with
not?
a-
I know, that's.
Yeah, with an architectural review board, design review board, corridor review commission, anything like that, you do have to be careful, because of course there's going to be subjectivity. Anytime you're talking about things like architecture and colors and things like that, it's very subjective. So you want something that is tight enough to prevent what you don't want to happen, but not so tight that you can't have a little bit of flexibility. Because similar to what we talked about the fences, just like we list, hey, here are all the materials you can use, somebody's gonna come up with something that's good that we didn't think about. So, but we can certainly, like, I'm happy to start doing some research on, what it would take to kind of baby step towards, having some kind of architectural review guidelines for the city.
Or at least a final review from I don't know, we probably can't call it an architectural review board, but some other type of aesthetics board, I don't know what you would call it, but something to say, and again, I'm looking at just preventing something kooky out there, and just, people are weird, sometimes they do things like that, just so they can get the attention, and bring attention to their business or their whatever. But yeah, we gotta, I guess city council would be the final say so if something is not right for the city, but I know legally there's only certain things we can do legally unless we address it in advance.
So are they working on codes at this time?
Not yet.
Will we be involved?
Oh, yes, absolutely, you have to be involved, so, yes, you will be very involved. But yeah, but in terms, like, back to this, the ARB part, let me talk to Jonathan and, because we'll kind of have to feel out counsel about that. But I'm happy to start doing a little bit of research on that. But yes, once we go to, any of the little not little, but smaller code changes that we're bringing forward will definitely, similar to fences, will come to y'all. They may come, depending on what they are, they may come to you before I've even drafted something, just to start getting some input, try to get some public input as well, before they're drafted. And then definitely when we do the larger code update or, however that's going to be done, it would be, y'all would be very involved. So, and I'd like to do whatever we can to get the public involved in that as well.
So are you gonna make some changes to the fence from last night's meeting?
Yes.
Did we see that again, or just?
You don't see it
Just
again.
as a
I'm happy
point
to-
of information.
I was gonna say, I'm happy to send y'all an update, just so you know. I was thinking about that when I came in today, that I'll probably put a regular occurrence on the agenda is just a staff report, just so that you know what happens with items after they come to you. Because if you're not at a council meeting, you may not know that something got approved or tabled or withdrawn or denied. And that way y'all can just follow it through and just know what happens with what came before y'all. So, but yes, once I make those changes, I'm happy to send it back to you. Just so that y'all have it for information, so. Thank y'all.
Right.
Hey, is this minuscule writing the new norm? Because it really is useless.
What's that?
I can't read this. Can y'all read this?
Oh, I do want to mention that, yeah, could we start Lollipop perhaps at least having one large set of, full-size set of prints? Because, yeah, this last one with that thing, I mean, it is almost illegible. Sorry.
Is there
my
like
eyes are
11
not
by
great, but-
17 that we could get in our?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's good, but I'm saying at least when we
Yeah.
have our meeting, I know that they
Yes,
turn in full-size set, if we can have them on hand. So
Oh,
that,
here.
Yes, we can bring a full-size
Yeah,
set here.
just bring them on hand, and to be honest with you, I meant to ask that 2 meetings ago for something, and I forgot, and it was too late to call you at the last minute, so I didn't, but I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Even though
think
my
this-
phone was blurry when I blew it up.
You have to get just the one.
That says Highway 81, where's that?
No, I think the smaller size, and Molly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's because we're using this
That
new
new system.
software, and that's what it, that's how it kind of puts it all in there, but we'll keep playing with it and see what we can do, but
Well,
we'll
and the
definitely
fact
bring
that
in.
and anytime you guys can get it on the screen, that also helps
Yeah, it
too,
helps a lot right there.
yeah,
Well, yeah, now that we figured that out, we will continue to be able to do that, so.
that's cool.
Especially when they can walk over and just point at a certain
Mhm.
area
Yeah.
and say, this is where I'm talking
All
about.
right.
Yes.
All right then, motion for adjournment, anybody?
I make a
Anybody?
motion that we adjourn.
Motion on the table for adjournment, and seconded? Seconded. Aye, all in favor? All right, we are done.
Is it a record?
I don't know if it's
Not even
record, but it could be
45 minutes.
close.
It's not even 45 minutes.
Hey, that's a
We did
motion
it
to
in my
adjourn.
30 minutes.
Yeah.